Probably the greatest change that I've seen, I would probably say is in the student body. I think we've gone through three different generations now. Now moving out of the millennials and into a new generation, and I feel like so many of the people in my field were just starting to get a handle on millennials. So students, I think, have changed. I think has changed quite a bit. Who has access, how we get access, technology. I think is another really big piece, and that I think will actually bleed into some of the other questions. Um, I think I think the why. So why would a student choose higher education? I think there is definitely still a population of students where higher education is access. It is that door to better opportunities, but the way that people can access information now, that the fact that information is so widely and readily available, um, and the cost of education, that I think you're going to see a lot more of the folks who've traditionally gone to school question, well, why do I need to go? Why would I even need to be there? So I think this idea of, well, if I can get access to information, if college is just about getting information to get the job, well, if I can get the information and get the job another way, why then? Why would I need higher education? I think that's going to be one of the toughest questions that higher ed will have to answer. Know your why. I think that you will be flexible. Be flexible and be creative. I think that those who are not are going to stagnate, and I think, unfortunately, will die off. And I think that is the same with institutions, areas, functional areas. So I think as a student affairs professional, the best thing that you can do to prepare yourself is, know how to critically think through situations, and then be flexible and be creative in how you might want to move and open, with the changing times. So I think the greatest challenge will be how does higher education understand its true purpose, as opposed to the market value that it has. If higher education is meant to produce a certain type of citizen and to educate and to help people become better citizens in this world, that is going to constantly be at odds with this market value of, well, am I getting what I'm paying for? And I think that too often the way that colleges are addressing their market value is through more stuff and entitlement, as opposed to actual helping folks understand the value of what they're learning in their education, if that makes sense. Their own personal development, and helping people value their development versus only valuing the outcome. Gosh, I think that one's hard because, what is it? What I forget what the statistics are, but something like the top jobs that exist today for people didn't even exist 10 years ago. So how do you prepare a workforce for something that may not even exist 10 to 15 years from now? How do you imagine that? So to say what and I think a lot of people thought that maybe the arts were going to be obsolete, the humanities were going to be obsolete, but we're starting to realize that, well, that's how people gain their EQ, and that's how people gain the critical thinking skills they need to lead in these technology fields and in these areas. And so people are trying to say that maybe what we thought was going to go away isn't necessarily always going to go away, and we can't really imagine. So I think having just to be open and understanding who you are, your why, and why you're doing something, and your niche market is going to be more important than having a crystal ball that tells you exactly what's going to happen and isn't going to happen. So. is. I think that APU is trying to diversify itself, which is good and helpful. I think, again, when you can't predict what's going to happen, it's helpful to be diversified. I think they're working to articulate their why and working to articulate kind of what is it that they offer that another institution could not offer. Although I would say probably my pushback and challenge to the institution is to really hone in on understanding their vision and what it is that they really truly have to offer. Because without that, we can't sell it to the student. We can't say, well, this is why you should choose us over anywhere else. And I think that we're getting there. I don't know that we're quite there yet. I fear that I would advocate for something that doesn't even look like a college or institution of higher education. I think I would advocate for a much more open sources of learning. I think much more creative ways of learning. How do we allow students to engage in a communal way of learning and being with each other, which I think again is something that has a lot of benefit. There's actually a school that is featured and highlighted in the Ivory Towers, and it's I forget exactly what it was called, but what they're based on was a very open way of learning. Folks did life together, they worked, they labored, but then they also came together and they discussed topics, they talked about them, they argued, they presented different ideas and bounced ideas off of each other. I think the way that I would imagine a